What's up guys, Matt Monas here, and today we're doing a review of the LG G4. This is LG's latest flagship device of 2015, and at first look, you're probably thinking it looks a lot like the G3, and that's because it does. But a lot of things have changed for the better. It has a curved display, a better camera, and you have the option of getting leather on the back. So without wasting any further time, here's my review of the LG G.
No, Matt, this is gonna be my review. I'm taking over this review. Hey guys, it's Andrea here, and this is going to be my review of the LG G4. Let's start off with the design. And if you've watched all the reviews with the ceramic plastic back of this phone, then you're probably not too impressed with the way it looks. But I have here the black leather one, and when you combine the leather back with the metal trim, the phone all of a sudden feels and looks really nice. It's not slippery, it feels great in the hand, and that slightly curved screen allows the phone to rest against my face comfortably. If you've used the G2 and the G3, then you're pretty used to having the buttons on the back of the phone, and that trend continues with the G4. But the biggest difference is that the buttons feel much more premium. The click on the power button is more solid, and the volume controls have a grip on them that let you know exactly what you're pressing. Above the buttons is a 16 megapixel rear-facing camera, laser autofocus, and LED flash, which I hope you never have to use. Spoiler alert, this camera is awesome and I can't wait to talk about it. But first, let's see what's changed on the rest of the phone. Both sides of the phone are clean with no buttons. The top has an IR blaster and the bottom has a micro USB port and audio jack. Now let's move on to the display. The front houses the 5.5-inch display, which is now curved. Not as curved as the G Flex 2, but enough to make it feel different. I like the curve a lot. It's more subtle than anything and doesn't really feel different than a non-curved screen when you're doing things in portrait mode. However, when I watch media when the phone's in landscape, I feel it's more immersive. Sure, it might be psychological, I might be imagining things, but one thing's for sure, it's something different and it doesn't take away from the overall user experience. But the true beauty of this display is when you turn it on. LG is calling this a quantum display. Don't get this confused with quantum display on TVs. It's not the same technology. It's still an IPS panel, but the color looks great. You have blacker blacks, nice contrast, and it does a really good job outdoors. Text is extremely sharp and the screen gets pretty bright. Not as bright as the Galaxy S6, but bright enough that you'll be happy with the result. And if you're wondering if the display is better than the one on the GS6, I would say no. The GS6 is brighter and more color accurate. But the G4 has one of the better displays I've used, and overall, you won't be disappointed. Speaking of disappointments, the speakers are still placed on the back of the phone. They're not that great, they're easy to cover with your hand, and I found myself putting on a pair of headphones instead. Moving on to the software and performance, and inside is Qualcomm Snapdragon 64-bit 808 chip with an Adreno 418 GPU. It's a hexacore chip, and sure, it scores lower than the 810, but needless to say, it still performs like a boss. Everything is fast, fluid, and transitioning between menus and applications were a breeze. Games ran well, browsing the web was smooth, and watching media was a joy. It's basically what you would expect from a flagship phone with 3 GB of RAM. Another big topic lately has been phones heating up, especially due to the 810 fiasco. The phone does get hot from time to time, especially when you play games, but nothing to be too concerned of. When it comes to software, I prefer stock Android, not from a functional perspective, but from more of a visual one. But most people care more about what their phone can do, and the G4 has some neat tricks of its own that you may find useful. For example, you can resize the keyboard depending on the size of your fingers. People with big fingers will want the keyboard to be obviously bigger, and small hands smaller. Smart Bulletin keeps you updated with mini cards that pop up to let you know certain things, such as to bring an umbrella if it's going to rain that day, or to remember to stop using an app because it might drain your battery. You can also control smart settings that enable or disable certain functions based on your location. If you leave the house, it will change your sound profile, or if you plug in headphones, it will automatically load your music app of choice. The list goes on, and of course you still have LG's Knock Knock to wake up your display, and you can use dual window to view the apps at the same time. With that being said, there are a couple of things I didn't like about LG's UI. First was putting your phone on silent. You either have to dig deep into your settings menu to disable interruptions, or you have to go to the separate quick settings icon that says interruptions and set it at no interruptions. Putting your phone on silent has been an issue with Android Lollipop, but it seems LG has just made it a little more confusing. And the second thing I want to point out is the actual settings menu. It's disjointed, and finding things is a little more confusing than the standard scroll menu on most phones. The wording for sounds and notifications doesn't even fit in the label. These are not deal breakers, but things that can be fixed with a simple software update. Overall software and performance experience has been really great. Inside is a 3000 mAh removable battery, which is now becoming a very rare feature. You can carry a spare battery and swap it if you run low and don't have to worry about carrying a power bank around. The battery life is great. Making it through the whole day with juice left over was never an issue, and every day was consistent. Now, it doesn't have wireless charging, which is kind of disappointing, but it does have quick charging. So not only are you getting great battery life, topping it off is also quick and easy. The camera on last year's LG G3 was good, but the camera on the G4 is absolutely amazing. It's a 60 megapixel shooter with an f1.8 aperture, which means good photos in low light. It has a color spectrum ring for better white balance, LED flash, optical image stabilization, and laser autofocus. This is the same sensor as the one on the GS6, but the biggest difference is that it's able to let in more light. Without getting all nerdy, this is one of the best cameras you can get in a smartphone to date. If you're wondering if it's better than the GS6, well, it's hard to say. They both perform really well, and they're both the best cameras you get on an Android smartphone. With the G4, you get better depth of field and really sharp images. And because it has nice dynamic range, you get better white balance than you would on the Galaxy S6. I do notice that the G4 tends to over-sharpen photos sometimes, but it's not noticeable to the average user. And if you just use auto mode, you will be extremely pleased with the results. Just like Samsung's Pro mode, you can manually control all the functions of the camera, adjust the ISO, change the shutter speed, and adjust the white balance. It's a good way to learn the basics of photography, and it's also a welcome feature for those who like to customize the look and feel of the photo. The front-facing camera is 8 megapixels and does a great job for selfies if that's your thing. Both the front and the back cameras can record in 4K. And as you can see, the rear-facing camera does a great job at recording video. And finally, I just want to mention call quality was great with no dropped calls, and both parties were able to hear each other perfectly. So in my opinion, the LG G4 is one of the best phones on the market today. Has a great display, great battery life, and a great camera. And if you want to see more of me in another video, please hit like and leave a message in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. Hope to see you all in another video.